I started in 2015. I started a gardening project in a first point of entry camp. And the idea was to bring locals and refugees together to garden, and it was nice, and I did that for the summer. Then somebody took it over for me, and then in the fall of 2015 I started working on this non-profit, and we were founded in 2016.
So when the large inflow came in 2015, you were involved in that initial process?
Yes, because I saw that many people were coming in, and my biggest worry was that the integration was going to go very poorly. And it's lack of knowledge leads to fear, fear leads to hate, hate leads to horrible violence, and it just goes down that road. So I thought if you could bring people together with a garden, you have something in common. Gardening is also quite therapeutic. You don't need the same language. And it was a really nice project, and we played a lot with kids in the camp, and somebody took the garden over from me. But the thing is, it didn't have any impact. One, because it's really hard to get into the camp because you have to get a police background check because you come in contact with children. So I understand, but there's all these requirements that you have to fill in order to get into the camp. Two, it was a first point of entry camp, which meant people should have been moving on after 3 months, so you cannot really build lasting relationships. And then there's no real impact because you're not... You built a garden, it's nice, but for someone who is new in a country, who has no idea about the language, the procedures, the culture, a garden is a nice thing but doesn't really help them. So we looked at the time what was on the market in terms of work, and there were offers, but there was nothing that we saw that was really something that offered personal support in multiple languages. And that kind of brought people up to a certain level so they could help themselves. And that's when the nonprofit started.
Migration, recent history. You've been you've witnessed everything very closely, you've been part of it, you've been very involved.
I mean, I started this, I still believe that every person has the right to work, and that work is really one of the ways that you can really integrate into a new society and really be successful. My mom did it in the US. I think I still believe that. I think one of the negative things that has come out of this is that you become a little bit desensitized because you hear really a lot of horrible stories from people, and you still feel like the tragedy and it's horrible, but at some point you're no longer surprised. I mean, sometimes you get a little bit, desensitized, I think, because you just come and you cannot... In the beginning, I gave out my personal cell phone number to the first guys that we were placing into jobs. And one of the guys called me, I think, at 4:35 in the morning because he missed his train and he didn't know what to do because he was going to work. I don't do that anymore, and there's still many people that have my number and call or write me messages, and I either don't answer or I just say, write this number instead. Because a lot of the messages they're nice messages. People just want to talk and make friends. But we've met a little over 500 or roughly 500 people in the last year, a little over a year, and you cannot have 500 new friends.
But you need to protect yourself too. Right?
Yeah, and I mean the other thing is I have family who don't see the same. They're lovely people, but they don't have the same view. They live in the countryside in Bavaria, and they're like, yeah, it's good, but we should take the Syrians, not the Nigerians. So then you just avoid political discussion with family. I don't know.
Yeah, I heard one guy who said to my friend who did the same like me, and shame on you for helping the refugees. Come on, you lose some of the friends, which then reveal to be not so good friends.
Right, you realize very quickly, okay, maybe we were not so similar in how we think.
Yeah, and they're not only stupid people, they're also people at the university who are educated and should know better.
Yeah, I experienced the same in Canada with educated friends. And with this particular issue, it's very
had some interesting discussions with my stepfather-in-law. I don't know what you call it. He understands like humanitarian support, but he also doesn't agree with that Germany opened up its doors. Which I feel is like 50-50 is hindsight, or hindsight is perfect, right? It's 50-50. But you cannot say, I think that's such a problem that many people still harp on. They're like, yeah, but we never should have opened the doors. Doors were already open, that's now 2 years ago. Get over it and move on and figure out what to do.
And there were some Arab countries, and Egypt and Syria were among them, and they said, well, in the Second World War, we also opened the doors.
Yes, and I mean, Germany,
Yeah.
with the history, you cannot be saying, we don't take these people, we don't help
I think
them.
there were some pictures I saw on Facebook where there were boats in the Second World War from Italy to Egypt.
Yeah.
And they were like, look, it's just 80
It's-
years ago.
Right, it's not very long, how could you forget?